Fiery conservative commentator Candace Owens absolutely trounces Don Lemon, or some like to call him Don Lemon, after he makes some patently absurd comments about Christianity. Guys, this is a fun one. I really loved it, and I'm sure you will too. As you all know, Don Lemon was a longtime CNN guy, very well known for his strange tendencies and far left takes. Quite a character, and says a lot of, one could say, controversial things, at least controversial to conservatives, that's for sure. And Candace, of course, is a very fiery fighter, and she does not take nonsense from anyone. And I think she's shown that more in the past 6 months or so than she has possibly ever. So I love it. I'm sure you guys love it too. And it's going to be a fun one. And we're going to get right into that. But first, yeah, I'm going to say it. Got to do what I got to do, okay? Please be sure to like our video, share it around, and yes, subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. Why subscribe? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I want to see more of these fun Candace Owens videos. It's really fun seeing her give an intellectual stomp down to people. I really enjoy it, and I'm sure you guys do too. So please go ahead and click that. We really appreciate it. As always, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get right into the clip.
Questions. And one of those questions that you ask is, why are we not told about the mass killing of Christians all around the world? What you just said, like, why can't we just let it be about the Holocaust? What is that? Well, that's like the most selfish thing in the entire world. Let me finish. The most selfish thing in the entire world is for me to spend an hour talking about the atrocities that innocent Christians who had nothing to do with Adolf Hitler faced, and then to have Zionist media talking heads somehow make it about the Holocaust. It's not about the Holocaust, okay? Christians suffered too. In fact, we are the most persecuted religion in the world. And I am so sick of it. I am so sick of there can only be one victim narrative.
And
if you start talking about
and we are not the most persecuted in the world. Come on.
That is a fact. What are you saying? We're not the most persecuted in the world. Do you know what's happening in Armenia? Do you know what's happening in Nigeria? Do you know what just happened in Canada? The fake story that was propagated by all of the mainstream networks about the nuns, and they found the mass burial, which allowed 85 Catholic churches to be burned to the ground in the last 3 years in Canada. We are still being persecuted right now. So I take great offense to you coming in here about the sensitivities of the people that are working on your show when I'm sitting here telling you that I'm a Christian and I'm offended by what you're saying, and you laugh. You mock Christian persecution. Do you think people to laugh when someone tells you about Christian persecution? Because let me tell you something, if I had done that, I think it's laughable about the Holocaust, I don't think it's funny. I would be chased out of polite society. Then don't laugh. Don't laugh at Christian persecution. Don't do it.
Want to know another great example of Christian persecution that's strangely overlooked? Look up which country is funding Azerbaijan and its killing of Armenian Christians. Hint, it's a country that has positive relations with the United States. I won't say who it is, but you might find the results kind of interesting.
The name is in the term. It's laughable.
Do not laugh. You literally just laugh when I talk about Christian persecution. Don't do that ever again. Not in my presence.
What you're saying is, okay, Candace, thank you. So what you're saying is, oh, you know what? The Holocaust was bad, but look over here. These people were worse than the Holocaust, so we should.
That's not that. First off,
that's what it sounds like. I'm telling you, that's what it sounds like.
You just said you didn't watch the episode.
No, but I'm saying that's what it sounds like. That's what you're saying. I don't have to watch the episode. I was listening to the words that you just said. You just spent 3 or 4 minutes talking about the other atrocities and how bad they were.
Yes, the other atrocities that have happened in human history outside of the Holocaust are things that we are relevant and allowed to talk about, especially when the numbers of Christians that were persecuted following the Russian Revolution and the manner in which they were killed, people that were beheaded, priests that were shot. Yes, it is. I can talk about Christian history, and I don't need to feel guilty about that, and I won't.
That's fine. All right.
Speaking of priests who were shot, look into the Spanish Civil War and the history behind that. A lot of people don't know this, myself included, till really recently, I'm ashamed to admit. But as the common narrative goes, I think it's obvious to many that the communists and socialists were painted as the good guys in the Spanish Civil War, you know, and then the big bad meaty fascists came in. Here's something people don't talk about. The socialists of the Spanish Civil War literally ordered mass executions of Catholic clergy, namely priests. They killed a lot of nuns too. The reason why this stopped was because Franco essentially came in and put an end to it. They don't talk about that much in history class, do they? I know they didn't in my case. You'd think such an egregious example of Christian persecution would be a little more well known. Kind of interesting, isn't it?
You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to.
And please, genuinely, please never, please, when I come on your show, have enough respect not to laugh when I talk about Christian persecution, because you would never do that if I was Jewish and I was talking about the Holocaust.
You can't tell
me. You would never do that.
You should have enough respect to know not to tell people how to react. You can't tell someone not to laugh.
Okay. Well, then I double dare you when a Jewish person is talking about persecution of Jews to laugh. You won't do it.
I won't do it because I actually believe that there were persecution of Jews,
and you don't believe that Christians were persecuted.
My thought. I believe that there is persecution of Christians. I don't think it's the most persecuted religion in the world. Okay, so listen.
Laughable.
Consider. Okay, laughable. Good. You agree with me. Thank you.
I just want to state for the record, I don't think Don Lemon is a Christian. I don't think he does anything Christian. I don't think he likes Christianity. That's my opinion, but I think it's kind of obvious. But we can talk about facts here. He's actively living a sinful lifestyle, as was revealed in this exact same interview. At one point, Don Lemon, in some kind of attempt at a weird little gotcha on Candace Owens, he asked her, "Do you think I'm a sinner? Do you think I'm a sinner for being married to a man? Do you think I'm in a sinful relationship?" You know, as if she'd be an evil villain for pointing out what the Bible says. And Candace very simply answered, "Yeah, you're a sinner. You're living in a relationship that's not allowed, according to biblical teachings." And then, Don Lemon just goes like, oh, you can see him scowling and getting all upset. Point being, for this guy to act like he's a Christian, it's a complete joke. He clearly thinks that the idea of Christians being persecuted in modern society is laughable. He said as much himself. Now, let's see a bit of Candace's reaction to this quite ridiculous and absurd interview that she was forced to endure.
And that is exactly how I felt. And I just wanted people to hear that because I am so sick of this. I am so sick of people mocking Christians. They're just so comfortable doing it. He literally laughed when I started talking about Christian persecution, when I was saying that my episode was not about the Holocaust. I was talking about the German Christians who were mass murdered following the war, who had absolutely nothing to do with Hitler and nothing to do with Nazis. And I talked about how it is okay for us to talk about other persecutions because Christians are persecuted. And he laughed. The audacity of that. And I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he did it because people need to see that. People need to understand that the mainstream media has, I guess, such a lack of respect for Christians because we're always supposed to be nice. That's what they do. And they'll even, oh, you're a good little Christian. You're not acting like a good little Christian. I hate when I see this, by the way, people that are not Christians who use this line. Like, you're not behaving like a good little Christian. As if they've used our Bible to subjugate us. Let me remind you how to be a good little Christian while we insult you and why we violate every single tenet that you guys believe in. Let me remind you about how you should react to me as I am insulting you. We have to stop allowing for that. And I am not kidding. Like when that moment happened, I was like literally about to put him in timeout. Like I was treating him like he was my son. And I was very serious when I said, do not ever do that in my presence. And I hope that I give other people the permission to do that because it is not going to change until we demand that it changes.
As far as Candace's point goes about non-Christians bullying Christians and pretending that they have some kind of monopoly on the Bible or how Christians should act, a great point, by the way. I have my own little story about that because it's so true and happens all the time in daily life. One day, I went to church and I parked in a private lot that was right next to the church, unbeknownst to me. Completely empty lot, literally right next to the church, Sunday night, okay? Guess what happens? I got towed. I walk out, immediately go, dude, where's my car? Looking around, what's going on here? I find some signs, conveniently very small and hard to read, surprise, surprise, talking about how, oh, you can't park here unless you pay 24/7 in an empty parking lot, okay, where the business is closed. So obviously I put two and two together pretty quickly and found out my car was towed away. I called the number, really rude. They wouldn't tell me where my car was. They hung up on me when I was asking questions because I couldn't understand what the guy was saying. Just ridiculously unprofessional and disgraceful. Eventually I called a third time and was able to find out where my car was. Surprise, surprise, I have to go take a cab just to go get it because it's not even close to where I am. Okay, finally I get to the tow lot, talk to the guy, and then I say, hey, my car is an empty lot. Why couldn't I just get a ticket? His response, should have read the sign. Such a jerk. I mean, honestly. And look, let me be honest about my own flaws here. I was maybe a little more lippy than I should have been, okay? I was upset. I was annoyed. I end up saying to the guy, I literally got towed for parking next to a church on a Sunday night in an empty parking lot. That's disgraceful. What is your problem? What are your guys' problem? And then he shot back at, ooh, sound a little judgy for a Christian, huh? I thought as Christians, you're not supposed to judge people. And that goes right back to Candace's point about how people are so happy to insult Christians and no other religion. You think he would have said that if I was anything else? Probably not. Now, as for what I said to the guy, I basically informed him that as a Christian, you actually can judge people, and that this idea that you can't judge because you're a Christian and you have to be super nice to anyone, even if they're a complete jerk, is not true. I might have said it with some expletives in there that I won't repeat because that's besides the point, and hopefully the Lord forgives me for that, and I do regret doing that. But the point stands. Christians are often treated like trash in modern culture, and people just think it's okay. And you know what? Candace sees it, she's sick of it, and so am I. And I imagine many of you, our lovely viewers, are as well.
Because he would have never like I said, ever done that in the presence of a person that was Jewish talking about their persecution. He would have never laughed. I do not believe he would have ever done it in the presence of a Muslim talking about their persecution. It is Christians that are considered a laugh out loud joke all across the world. And there's a reason for that. And we'll get into those reasons later.
Well, quite a fiery snippet from that interview, and I'm sure the rest is good too. Can't wait to watch the whole thing. With all that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked, what you want to see next. And we'll see you guys again oh so very soon, I am sure. Thanks, and God bless.